Hello and welcome once again to ProtoMet Reviews. It's been a while. You're looking good. You been working out? I honestly don't actually care. In fact, today I'm a little peeved. You see, about a month ago, my buddy Tank, the betrayer that he is, reviewed the movie Toxic Avenger. And that is a pretty good movie. But in his review, he also mentioned that not only do I have all the movies, but that I also have the cartoon series. And by internet law, now I must review it. Thanks a lot, Tank. So, if you haven't guessed already, today I'm going to be reviewing the Toxic Crusaders cartoon series. And let me just get this right out of the way. This show is dumb. This show is way dumb. So, with that final opinion out of the way, maybe, let's get to talking about what the show is actually about. The cartoon series actually starts off having a fairly accurate origin for Toxie, with a dopey janitor, Melvin Junko in this iteration, being pulled into a prank and accidentally winding up in toxic waste, which turns him into a hideously deformed mutant of superhuman size and strength, and eventually gaining a visually impaired girlfriend. However, the series does have a lot more going on with it, including actually changing the origin to actually connect to the villains of the series, led by the evil Dr. Killimov, who is actually from the planet Smogula and who is actually trying to pollute New Jersey, of which Tromaville is the last unpolluted city, so that his people can essentially invade Earth and turn it into a polluted paradise for themselves. Along the way, Toxie is joined by other members of the Toxic Crusaders, as they come to be known, including Nozone, an aviator with a huge snoz and an affinity for sneezing a lot, Major Disaster, a military man who is able to control plants, Headbanger, who is actually the combined form of two other characters, Bender and Fender, who were fused due to an accident and ultimately joined the good guys after originally being bad, and Junkyard, a mutant with the combined abilities of a dog and a hobo. Exciting, I know. And opposing the Toxic Crusaders are the forces of Dr. Killimov, including the Radiation Rangers, which are essentially the foot soldiers of this TMNT knockoff series, Psycho, whose main power seems to be spoiling the plot of any given episode, and Bonehead, who is a hideously deformed bully that was actually partly responsible for Toxie becoming Toxie. And a couple other villains that pop in here and there, but they're pretty minor, and yeah, so I'm just going to gloss over them. Toxic Crusaders actually has a pretty surprisingly heavy environmental message to it, which is a little ironic given that it's called Toxic Crusaders, and the Toxic Crusaders, all hideously deformed mutants of superhuman size and strength, gained their abilities from a number of toxic accidents. Well, whatever. This show is pretty high on humor, but a lot of it is pretty dumb humor, involving puns or just kind of being a bit mean-spirited or whatnot, but it's not terrible. Toxic Crusaders is a pretty dumb show. That having been said, if you actually go about watching it knowing that it's dumb, it's not that bad. It's actually a bit of fun. It does have its problems, but it's actually pretty enjoyable. So thanks a lot, Tank, the Betrayer, for inadvertently forcing me to watch this show that I actually technically chose to watch because you kind of mentioned it in your review in Internet Law. However, I will say, the comic book series is actually quite a bit better. The comic book series published by Marvel is actually fairly accurate to the cartoon series, at least for the first episode. It gets Toxie's origins just right, and while it does actually kind of rush through the other 4/5 hero characters towards the end of it, it actually diverges quite significantly after the first issue, and actually gets a lot better, with the plots being a bit more toilet humor based and going a bit further with what could be still considered kid entertainment, and even referencing other comics and franchises in a parodic way. This is actually a really fun series. In addition to the cartoon series and the comic books, there were also a number of other media associated with the franchise, including action figures by Playmates, the same company that released the old Ninja Turtles toys, a few video games for the NES, Game Boy, and Sega Genesis, which I don't have time to get into. And there was actually a plan to make a live-action movie, which is kind of weird considering that one technically exists in the form of the Toxic Avenger. But I assume that the plans were to make a kid-friendly version of that film. Probably a lot less gory and sexual in nature. Probably. However, the plans for that ended up falling through due to the fact that the company that was going to make the movie were actually only doing it so that they could secure the rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequels. So, as a result, the Toxic Crusaders movie never came about and probably never was legitimately intended to, much to Troma's dismay. Overall, this is actually a fairly fun series. But, now that I'm done reviewing it, Tank, you betrayer, it is now my turn to challenge you to review a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff, because that's apparently a thing now that I'm just coming up with. And as a result, you will have to review The Mighty Ducks. No, not the movie about a ragtag hockey team or its sequels, but the cartoon that Disney did. You know what? Just play the clip, man. Yeah, that. So yeah, Tank. Now, by internet law, you must review that, because internet law. Yeah. Gonna. I couldn't think of an ending for this video. I'm just gonna leave.